Welcome to the WoW podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories and insights from our university community. Tune in for conversations about growth, success, and the power of communication in the academic world. So get ready to soar with us on the wings of wisdom.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your host, Mohsin Bensed, and welcome to the Wings of Wisdom, the WoW podcast. Our guest today has dedicated over 30 years to law enforcement while also spending 25 years teaching criminal justice in police academies and universities. She currently serves as the director of the Criminal Justice and Homeland Security programs at Ashland University, where she brings real-world experience into the classroom. In addition to her work in higher education, she remains an active police officer and recently took on the role of the director of the Ashland County Emergency Management Agency. Please welcome Professor Anne Strouth to the Wings of Wisdom podcast.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful.
And thank you so much for meeting with us during spring break. What a commitment.
Well, it's not really weather specific here locally for that spring break, so I'm perfectly fine working.
And I see you in your office today. So what's going on?
I am
spring break in the office.
Yes, I'm in the office because as part of many of our tours that we do with students who are thinking about coming here to Ashland University, as part of the tour, I get to meet those prospective students and try to answer any questions they may have and put that personal touch to really what we do here at AU, especially in our department.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. I know it makes a huge difference having a program director and faculty member interact with prospective students and their families. Yeah, definitely, you're making a huge difference in our recruitment efforts and also the success of your program. So let's start at the beginning. What was your college like for you as an undergrad?
It's kind of funny because I think I was probably a terrible student during that time, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's like I wasn't the typical student during my undergrad because I did not go to, college directly out of high school. I was already working in the field of law enforcement as a state trooper, and when I made the decision to attain my Bachelor of Science degree here from Ashland University. So I did that in the evenings and on the weekends.
Wonderful. So how was Ashland for you as a student versus now as faculty member?
It was, I know why I chose AU, and I grew up in this county, and I always admired and respected what AU did for the community and their impact they had in academia. And I always knew one day I would come to Ashland and get to experience that. So it was great. I have my major was in criminal justice, but I minored in business. And the business program, they had that, I don't even know what they called it back in the day. This is like years ago. So in the 1990s is when I graduated from here. So back then they had I don't call it an expedited program, and it really fit the working folks that are already in their career, but needing to, attain more education. So it was a great experience. And it kind of felt odd because I was always the oldest person in the classrooms when I actually were in there, but being able to, I actually learned a lot from the younger students. So it was kind of like give and take. They learned from me, I learned from them. So it was a great experience.
That's wonderful. So what drew you to criminal justice? Was there a moment when you knew this was the right field for you?
I did, and that was at the age of 19. I, of course, came from, how financial aid worked back in the day, that if your parents made over a certain amount of money, there was no financial aid available. And I did not come from a wealthy family, so I immediately needed to get a job and try to save up to put myself through college. And doing such, I became a dispatcher for Loudonville Police Department, which is in the southern part of this county, near Mohican. And I became a dispatcher. And love that job, but it didn't take very long for me to realize that I needed to be on the other side of the radio, not telling the officers, where to go, what was going on, but I need to be the one responding to that. And I knew then, I'm like, I need to reach that magical age of 21, and then that's going to be my path. I mean, I knew it.
That's very inspiring. I can only imagine all those experiences that you went through as you were learning, your way in that field specifically. So correct me if I'm wrong, after your Bachelor of was it Science, right?
Yes.
You came back to AU and you pursued a master's degree in criminal justice.
I did not do it through AU.
Okay.
Yes, because at the time that I needed to attain my graduate degree, AU really wasn't in the online world. And because I was already working, and had my career, I needed to try to manage both. Plus, I had a family. So I needed something online. So unfortunately, I went to a different university to attain my graduate degree. And I always thought, I'm like, if I get a chance to ever get to AU, I'm going to make sure we have an online program available for us who are working in the field. So yes, today we do that for our folks, just not back, because again, I'm old, unfortunately. Back in my day, it didn't happen here.
Okay. Was further education always part of your plan?
It was in a sense, but I would say that what really motivated me to continue my education was the changes in the culture of my field, the career field I was in, of course, law enforcement, because I should say that I knew if I didn't jump on board early, I saw where the trends were going and how the culture was shifting and changing, and I knew I needed to jump on board early, so that way I would be better prepared, because I knew was going to teach our future law enforcement officers, and I knew that I had to have that education myself to set that example to be able to educate the future law enforcement officers.
So in addition to your degrees, you also trained at the State Highway Patrol Academy, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, OPOTA, Basic Police Academy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did those experiences prepare you for your career?
Oh my training at the Highway Patrol and my experience as a police officer, because I went through a basic academy first to become a police officer, worked, it was a year and a half as a police officer, and then the Highway Patrol recruited me, and then I went through their academy to be a trooper. And what I learned through both one, it's really the Highway Patrol, because I still believe till this day they're the best law enforcement agency in America for sure. But I knew that they would shape me into what was needed for the field, and their training is the best. And being able to attain that training really helped shape my career. It gave me, or provided me, the essential skills of discipline, self-discipline, and a strong sense of duty. And with that being instilled in you, and that was your mission every day, I mean, that affects everything. It affected my leadership and decision-making ability, my work ethic, my communication and people skills, problem-solving, critical thinking, crisis management, adaptability, integrity, and responsibility. All of those, the Highway Patrol instilled that in me, and it never leaves. And once you're a trooper, you're always a trooper, and that has followed me and prepared me to move on in my career path and take that along with me.
That's wonderful. So you've been in law enforcement for some time, quite a while, right?
Yes.
And I gotta say, you don't look a day older than 30 years old. So
well, I colored my hair, and I did it yesterday because I knew people were going to see me today. I was like, I gotta hide that gray.
You look wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So what has kept your passion about the fields for so long? I know, like, especially in a tense field like law enforcement, it's not easy, right? Every day can bring in a lot of, tense situations and dangerous situations, but I sense a lot of passion in you. How have you managed to keep that?
managed to keep that because I have always said that when you know, and again, I knew it at the age of 19 where I needed, and it was, you just like overcome by that feeling of, I need to help. I know I can do good. And that training them from the highway patrol, continuing to instill that within me, that's the drive that I get. There's no different, or there's no better feeling in the world than being able to help someone and knowing that you're making a difference in whether, in their life, but yet the community itself. And I just have that heartfelt passion. And I think every officer that works out there, it's kind of like the career chose us instead of us choosing the career, because you really have to have that deep inside of you knowing and that feeling that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's really deep.
It is. Like it definitely is.
So looking back, is there a particular experience in your career that stands out as especially meaningful? Something that maybe affected you, maybe it had a happy ending, you managed to help someone and that made a huge difference in their lives down the road. I don't know. It's hard to answer this question.
It is very, very
putting on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really hard to answer this because there's so many, and it can be even the tiny little things are very meaningful. And I think it's just the meaningful experiences is through all these 30 years of all those little things making that difference. So how do I want to say this? My deep sense of duty and desire to protect and serve is really have been the drive that I have to continue on, and the most meaningful experiences, every encounter that I have with the public that is positive and can make a difference. I mean, that's it. That's what we strive for, is that, and I can't just pick one. It's all together.
Right. I completely understand. Sometimes I get that question too. What's one moment you remember from teaching that really you thought was very effective and inspirational or what have you? But it's hard to pick one, right?
It definitely is. Definitely.
So in addition to your work in law enforcement, you're also the director of the Ashland County Emergency Management Agency. Mouthful.
It sure is.
I heard you speak at Leadership Ashland during that session of, I think it revolved around safety in the community. And what does that role involve? What can you tell our audience?
Well, it is definitely a role that requires a size 15 shoe to be able to walk in those shoes to be able to do this job. But and it's a lot that many in the communities don't really know or realize what that role is. There's also a second part to that title, that it's the Ashland County Emergency Management Homeland Security Agency. So there's two pieces to it, but as the director, it's my responsibility to lead the charge in our local community to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and mitigate disasters, and coordinate the emergency operations that and the plans to carry out those operations, and ensure first responders such as law enforcement, our fire and EMS folks, and our government agencies, that we all work together seamlessly to overcome or to address whatever that situation may be. So when a crisis may strike, and that can be like a tornado, a flood, or a hazardous material spill that, a truck's leaking its, cargo on an interstate, it's my job to activate the resources and communicate that critical information and take action to protect lives and property. So when you really think about all the things that I do at the Emergency Management Homeland Security Agency, it's really what I do every day and have done in law enforcement every day. We need to safeguard our people and keep them safe. So to me, taking on this position was not one that it wasn't hard at all for me, because I've done it for all these years. And this is just at a different level of the preparedness piece, and to be prepared for whatever would come next. So these are, preparing for the unknown. But every day you put that uniform on, your gun belt, your vest, and you're going out and hitting the streets, it's always an unknown too. You never know what's going to happen. So I would say that my career in law enforcement and education prepared me to be the leader here in Ashland County to help our community be resilient if things bad happen to our community.
Yeah, how many people on that team? And
In my office?
Yeah, the Ashland County Emergency Management Agency. Is that a big agency or?
No, it was just me. And I was able to, I've been there going on 2 years now, and was able to really express to our commissioners that you really need, and they need somebody. I can't do it all. Lord knows I've tried, but I'm also a realist, and I know that everything that needs to be done here in our county, I couldn't do it. I mean, I'd eventually be able to, but we need things now because that's the emergency piece to it. So they actually agreed to it. So January 6th of this year, they approved the hiring of a emergency manager specialist position. So now there's 2 full-time people, myself and Scott Engelhart, who is the EM specialist. So there's 2 now. And we do all for the whole county.
You couldn't go on vacation for this, right?
Right.
It sounds like a 24/7 job. So.
It's 24/7, 365. I have to sleep with my phone on, and I put it under my pillow because my husband's a firefighter, so he works 24-hour shifts, so he's not always home. But when he is, I know sleep is precious for him. But I'm on call 24/7, 365. So I hide it under my pillow, and it's on vibrate, so at least I can feel it, so I can get up and go take the call if it happens. So yeah.
Oh man, all the sacrifices that we don't know about.
No, correct. And many don't realize that. That's for sure.
No, we don't. No. So let me ask you this: how does that connect, or how do you connect that to your background in criminal justice and also in your teaching?
Oh,
do you ever? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you ever use some of the experiences or the knowledge that you have access to in the agency in your teaching?
Absolutely. And I think that because I was already hired by Ashland University in my role and position here, and I had acquired, of course, being the program director of that program. And when this opportunity came up, I thought I have to accept it, because what we do and what I do in the community, I can bring all that back. So it's a real live, up to date, experience for students. So and that's why I continue in both fields. People are like, man, you're crazy to try to balance all of that. And I'm like, well, when you get older, people want to retire, but I want to continue to give. And I think there's no better way to have a positive college experience than to have a professor who's teaching you current, real-time, real-life things and hands-on. So I use all of that. So everything that I do there transfers over to the classroom.
Very good. Very good. I'm going to ask you some questions about your teaching in a second. So, so you spent some years teaching at criminal justice here, especially at AU, right? What do you enjoy most about working with students at AU on the main campus?
What I like most about working with the students and being here, my gosh, I love the students. I want to help them grow. I want to prepare them for their careers. And there's no better feeling in the world for really any professor than seeing one of your own students become successful in their career. And it's like I had a part in that. And it's a great feeling. So it's almost like the same idea as law enforcement. You're out helping people resolve problems, getting resources for them, keeping them safe. And it's kind of like it's the same thing here with the students. And I have never, and I've been on AU's campus for a while and always around, I've never seen anyone who wasn't cordial, who didn't smile, that was so happy to be here. And you couldn't pay me enough. Or you could pay me nothing and I would still be here because of being a part of that. It's like, yeah, I'm smiling, I'm happy, and what a great experience. So I would take that any day.
Yeah, thank you. That's great to hear. So you mentioned you bring a lot of real world experience into the classroom. And you mentioned some of the connections that you make between the agency and also, I call it agency just for short, and your teaching, and also your previous law enforcement experience. Uh, how how important is that? Making sure students get hands-on, practical understanding of the field.
It is critical. And I've always said that and that's one of the reasons why I'm still working in the field. I think that if you haven't had that experience, you lack that credibility with your students. So the students have to believe in what they're learning, and believe that yes, they too can make a difference, especially when they're looking at me and saying, I am every day. I think that holds a lot of weight. But our field in itself, every day is changing. There's nothing ever the same. And to be able to teach stuff hands-on and bring those real experiences and bring them to the classroom and doing an activity, like a hands-on activity with that, to where the students are I should say, improving upon their own problems solving skills, which definitely need that, as well as critical thinking, that bringing that real life to be able to have them become better at that just better prepares them for a career in the field. And I think that excitement, because I'm always excited about sharing and bringing that hands-on stuff. And I think that excitement, they pick up on it, and they have that fire lit, and they want to do it. And I think it does a lot for learning, because like I said, way back when you asked me the first question, I was not the best student in my undergrad at all. It's like, just tell them I need to know to be able to get through this and move on, and not realizing how important education really was, of what I could get out of it to help me grow as a person. And
Right.
Looking back at that, I knew, and you've got to do something different with these students so they can see it too. And I do that through the hands-on stuff.
That's wonderful. Do you get that question a lot from prospective students and their families? The hands-on experience that they get at AU?
Yes, and that's usually always a question either the parent or the prospective student will say, well, what's like a day in a classroom like? And I smile and I get all excited about it, and you can see that they're changing too. And I'm like, we have fun. I mean, learning has to be fun, and what better way to do it than to have fun? And Herb Homeland recently added to our staff. He comes from the same background. He has well over 30. Yeah. I'm so happy that he came on board with us, and I couldn't ask for a better partner. And then too, Jared Rosenberger, that he is our sociologist, and all of his research and stuff that he's done, especially even with some law enforcement agencies. It's like we all have those experiences, and we use those, and our students just grow from it. But explaining that, it's almost like you can see like a light bulb or an idea of like, wow, this could be fun, instead of, I got to sit in the classroom, take notes, kind of thing. It's like, no, we get to do it. We let you do it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We learn by doing. I think you got to listen and take notes, but also you need to do at the end. So,
yes.
Well, let me ask you this one, and feel free not to answer if you don't want to answer the question. You can move to the next one. Okay. So, traditionally, criminal justice is a male-dominated field. Would you agree, right?
Absolutely.
How does your perspective as a woman help shape the way you teach and mentor students?
It definitely has a significant impact, and more so to females than males. But for me, teaching and where I came from and sharing that, it sets an example to show that other females what they can do. And I've always said, my gosh, if Anne can do it, you all can do it. But I really think that it also brings a different perspective. We all know men and women are completely different in how we think, how we problem solve, and our critical thinking ability. So a male in the field will handle a situation this way, and then a female will handle it this way. It doesn't mean either one's right or wrong. I mean, wrong. They're both right. It's just how we deal with things. So I think really getting more women, a little bit of that diversity in our career field, really makes a stronger agency because we have that ability. I mean, some people relate better based upon gender, especially when we're looking at victims of crimes. There's so much more we can do as females rather than what men can do. But not saying that's always that way. I mean, some victims feel comfortable talking to a male because they want to feel safe and they see that male figure as such. So you got to have a balance of both.
But you bring that to the classroom. I think that's very important. And
Yes.
you mentioned diversity also in the body of our criminal justice professors. So that makes the program a special one, right?
Yes, it does.
And speaking of the program, are there any upcoming initiatives or changes in the CJ program that you're maybe excited about?
Oh, yes, you can see the excitement. I'm so excited. We've actually, we are going to build a crime scene lab, and we're doing that in one of our buildings. We're located in Shar, College of Education, and it's just a step away, right across the pathway. In Cates, we're building a hands-on criminal investigation lab, but it's also a classroom to where here's the information you need as a student. We go through all that, and now we'll go into lab and practice it. So it really gives students more of a realistic approach to, well, how do we collect evidence? How do we talk to people? How do we do interviews within a home? I mean, there's so many things that we can do with this lab that really can affect or I should say help other degrees or departments here at AU, like the forensic science piece. Now we have the lab that has the bodies, has all of that, let them bring their forensic aspect to it. But two is social work, thinking of having that home environment setting, because it'll be a home with a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen and a living room. I mean, having that as here's a house setting. Now, how do you handle yourself, or what do you do? And kind of bringing that in really gives that realistic but hands-on experience that you really can't get out of a classroom. No matter how I can try to make it into that, you can't. So this lab is definitely going to grow our program, but really grow our students into, leaving here with that degree, but having a better understanding, but more experience in dealing with those kinds of things.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
Was that through a grant?
Well, we're trying. Well, I should say I know the provost and the dean in my area are definitely committed to it. They see the importance of it and how critical or crucial it is to folks wanting a career in CJ or Homeland Security, emergency management. But how do I want to say this? There's some funds that they have, but more so we're going the route of the Day of Giving that's coming up, and trying to reach that crowd or those folks to say, hey, this is what we want to do. What can you do? So trying to promote it through the Day of Giving.
Let me ask you this one. Are there any classes that you think any student should take, or you would advise other students who are not like CJ majors or Homeland Security majors take, and why?
Oh, it has to be the criminal investigation class, CJ 200. And why I say that is that you get to problem solve, you get to use your critical thinking skills to be able to figure out who done it kind of things. All the activities and everything in that course is all designed around what skills you need to be a good crime scene investigator. But that will help anyone, no matter what career path they take, because it's building the problem-solving skills and the critical thinking skills, which we all need, and to be able to have fun doing it. And who doesn't watch the CSI shows on TV? So this is like, instead of watching it, you get to do it. So again, it's making that learning fun. But in the end result, they may not see it throughout, but they're definitely improving the problem solving skills, which will help them in whatever career they choose.
That sounds like an exciting class, and I might take that class myself. So you'd be surprised to see me there one day.
I look forward to it if you are.
What can you tell me about the academies, the summer academies? And I think you participated in the previous one, right? Through the Ashbrook program.
Yes, so it's the Ashbrook Academies that are conducted during the summer semester here on campus, and they recruit. I think I may have even had a sophomore, but they're like juniors and seniors of the high school who come here, and they get to choose which academy they want to attend. So I know there's like the psychology department has one, but I have paired with the science department, and we call it the CSI Academy. And we get to work with those students for an entire week here on campus. And I get to start off with them first of giving them the basics of, here you go. This is how you investigate it. Give them that, the basic skills of an investigator. And then they get to actually go out and process and investigate a crime scene that I've set up, and it's outdoors, rain or shine, it's outdoors. But all the pieces and parts that they're getting out of that then relates to the science piece, which is DNA, entomology with bugs and testing. So everything starts from that crime scene, and then at the end they should be able to figure out who the suspect is based upon all of the if they collected the evidence correctly and their analysis is correct of that, then they'll be able to solve who did it.
Wow.
It's fun.
So all the small pieces, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. What about the community? Are there any connections that the program makes to the community, the Ashland County community? You mentioned the real life experiences. Do any of the programs that you direct kind of either bring in speakers from the community or take students outside for hands-on experiences?
Oh, absolutely. So we have something called the Criminal Justice Club, and it's not like students can join it, but I really strongly encourage all CJ majors and minors join the club, because through the club sets up and chooses what speakers they think would benefit students. And we bring speakers in through that club, through the funding. And I can talk about how they get some of their funds. But they get to do that. But more importantly, and we just started this year with Homeland coming on board, set up a tour of our prisons in Richland County. So yes, the old OSR, the Ohio State Reformatory, a tour there, but also at Richland Correctional Institution. So they actually can go inside a real prison and see what it's like inside it and get that experience. We've also partnered with BCI, with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and when we did that with our current students, but also with students from career centers, and brought them on campus, and we kind of like just had a BCI day where we had a whole bunch of different aspects of what BCI does, and students got to rotate through those groups to hear and learn about what's out there in our world. And I'm trying to think of one other that it's a tour to the actual crime scene, or to the lab in Columbus, that students are able to go there to see what it's like.
Wow.
Yeah, so all that stuff. And again, that kind of gives them that, if they thought maybe that's something that they wanted to do, they can go on the tour and really see it to know if it really resonates with them or not. It would stink, I think, if you went all the way through and you're like, this is what I want to do, then you actually do it and you're like, this isn't for me now, what do I do? So trying to give them little benchmarks and things they can do that are fun, and it's all different aspects of our field of criminal justice for them to decide what they want to do and which direction they want to go with the career path.
That's incredible. And the CJ Club, that's through AU, right? That's a
yes, it sure
club.
is.
Okay.
Yes. So the Criminal Justice Club, during the Ashland County Fair, our CJ Club members, along with the Community Emergency Response Team that's in Ashland County, and the Career Center folks, together as a group, we provide gate security at the fair to make sure things that don't get in that should not be in, but also to making sure the right people are getting in. So we do that, and as a result of us volunteering our time, the fair board makes a donation to the Criminal Justice Club, which then helps fund all of these activities. So they got to do a little bit of work. They don't get it for nothing. They got to go out and volunteer and do that, and I'm out there with them. I cover shifts at the gate as well, and also make sure they have water and some snacks if they need it. So have that mother instinct that I need to take care of my students. But that's how we end up getting funding for that
That's a
club.
great experience for them too. Just the interactions that they have, and we're talking about a fair, talking about hundreds and hundreds of people, right? If
Oh
not
yeah,
thousands, yeah, on a
yes,
daily basis.
yep. It's an
That's
experience
amazing.
for sure. Yes.
For students thinking about a career in law enforcement, criminology, or homeland security, what's the best piece of advice you can give them?
Best piece of advice. I would say the best piece of advice would be for anyone who's thinking about that, or they know that that's what they want to do, you have to attain your degree. In today's world, a degree is everything. Back in my day, it wasn't, but like I said, way back then, I saw the writing on the wall. Yes, it does matter. The research shows that the more educated you are, the less use of force incidents, the less complaints, because you're learning all of how do I communicate with people, and you're learning at a higher level, which is definitely beneficial. But I would say that attaining your degree, and during that degree, that in your summers that you have off, that you should volunteer or try to work at a some kind of like a criminal justice related agency in the summer months, because most
Okay.
students are here fall spring, but get that experience and do
Right.
so differently throughout your whole, and choose a different place so that you can decide if that's what you want to do, if that's the career path for you.
Very good. So for students who aren't sure what the path to take in criminal justice, how can they figure that out? How can they
They
figure
can-
out which area best fits their skills and interests?
Well, one, I'm also an advisor, and so is Herb. It's like, come talk to us. We can problem solve and figure it out. I've been doing this, I've been in academia for a very, very long time. And I'm not saying I know everything, but it's kind of like you can kind of base it upon what they tell you. Like what do they really feel strong and passionate about? And then with our knowledge base and all the networking we've done through our careers, Herb well over 30, me as well, that we can guide them. And what I should say, we guide them and give them ideas, but more so we have a class within the program that all students have to take. It's called Criminal Justice Field Experience. And it's that you have to take 3 credits, and 1 credit hour equals 45 hours in the field. So they can go work somewhere for 45 hours and get that experience, change it, like go do probation and parole, change that, go do corrections. And then the next credit hour, 45, go do a ride along with law enforcement. So that gets them out there in the field. So I say do that early enough in your career or your journey here, because there's no prerequisites for it, so they can do that their sophomore year. I say do it. Yeah, I say do it as early as you can, so that you get an idea where and what you want to do and what your path is.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you mentioned earlier, this is, by the way, the end of our podcast, and I'm going to finish with this question. You mentioned that this field is constantly evolving. How can students stay adaptable and keep learning even after they graduate?
Well, I say this and I repeat it in every class that I teach, no matter what year they are, whether a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. I always repeat it, is that no matter what, you have to continue your education once you graduate, because the field is ever changing. And they need to subscribe to as many publications and databases as they can. And I give them a list of what they am, like, the Supreme Court of Ohio, because, they hand down the decisions of the cases that impact everybody in Ohio. Same thing with the United States Supreme Court. We teach them how to read case law, to subscribe to that, and many, many different like law enforcement publications that releases information about new technology, new ways of doing things. And most importantly, they have to stay on top of the news, the local, and of course statewide. And that is encouraged throughout. So my goal always is, before they leave here, they are at least subscribed to at least 3 databases or publications before they leave here, so that they have a way to continue and to read and educate themselves on what's going on. Yes.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Wow. Very comprehensive experience that our students get. I feel jealous now. So that brings us to.
I'm just going to, can I say something?
Yes, please go for it. Yeah.
I'm going to say that is, I think, the only way that a criminal justice degree can be successful is if that happens. And I think you only get that at a college is if the faculty have done it. They didn't learn from a book, they learn by doing, and they're bringing that experience. And I know I felt that way coming here at AU when I chose AU, and I did that based upon the reputation of that criminal justice department. And I'm like, okay, well, these guys know what they're doing because they've done it. And I didn't want to go somewhere of just learning something out of a book. I want to know the real stuff. So we give the real stuff, which it really sets us apart from many other colleges.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for your service. Thank you for sharing some of your wisdom and experiences with us. We feel very fortunate to have you here on campus. We truly appreciate all the work you do in the field of criminal justice and also in the classroom as you shape the next generation of professionals.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a big honor to have you with us, AU.
I appreciate that. Yep, thank you.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the WoW podcast, where curiosity meets inspiration. Brought to you by the Writing and Communication Center at Ashland University.